Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast. What's up, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm Keeping It Real.
And I remember to turn off the metronome this week.
That's right. That's right.
So this is episode 24, which means after this episode, you can't listen to the entire podcast in one day.
That's right.
And we're super excited about that.
1 day and 20 minutes.
That's right. That's right. So we have a super epic guest this week, which is...
Savi, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Freaking awesome.
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired, but I'm doing good. So for
Thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on tonight. So for the people who might not know you or people who don't know who you are, how did you kind of get interested in reptiles and in the realm of reptiles?
Well, I was born and raised in South Florida, so they've always been around me since day one, basically. I guess my first encounter with a reptile that I remember was when I was a little kid and I was outside just looking around for stuff, and I found a ringneck snake.
Ooh.
And my parents were out there and they saw it and they knew what it was, so they just kind of let me go do my thing. And I remember picking it up and just being so fascinated by it. And ever since then, I've just been catching lizards and snakes and everything I could get my hands on.
Hell yeah, I love ringneck
awesome.
snakes. The ringneck snakes up here, they are like a slate gray, and then the bellies on them are almost always like all yellow or like yellow orange. They don't have like a color gradient on them. The ones down where you're at, do they have like a ton of different colors on the belly, or is it just like unicolored?
No, it's just pretty much like a bright orangish red.
Yeah. I
Still
love
cool,
those.
though.
I love them. They're so cool. And their musk is not as bad as like water snake musk, because every time I catch a water snake, my hands smell like death, and you can't scrub it off of you. but ringneck snakes, their musk isn't that bad. It's not as bad.
You know what? I think I disagree with you.
Really?
I think ringneck snake musk is so much worse.
Oh,
Damn.
I don't know. When I
Maybe
smell the
it's southern
Rhodia,
ringneck.
I don't know. Maybe it's different, because the ones that we got up here, they don't. It smells like a little bit, but it's not super overpowering. When I get musked by water snakes, I can if you were outside the room, you could smell it on me, because that's how pungent it is. It's so strong. But you guys have got like a bunch of different kinds of water snakes down there, and you do a lot of field herping out there with Ryan, and I see you guys posting. I'm like always jealous, because you guys see so many freaking things, and I'm like, wow, oh cool, I found a garter snake and a water snake. That's cool. And then you guys are like, oh, pygmy rattlesnakes, and bright brown water snakes, and this water snakes, and all this. And I'm like, oh man, I can't find any of that shit.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
every time
I'm
I go
really
down to
lucky.
Florida, I still like finding anoles.
Yeah.
Just because it's a lizard, and we don't have those up here.
Yeah.
You know, it's cool because I still get excited about anoles as well. Just watching their behavior. I grew up just, observing them, and I'm still interested by them. So it's never boring.
Do you have a favorite thing that you like to find out there?
In the Everglades?
Anywhere where you go field herping?
Probably diamondbacks.
Yep. I enjoy those too.
It's hard to beat the high of finding a nice, beautiful Eastern diamondback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that, Rob?
I don't. I've never found one.
I know what that's like.
I found a timber, and the timbers are endangered, so that was cool. I'm assuming it's very similar, because, it was so rare to see one. I've only found one, so I'm assuming it's like that.
I've never
so.
found a timber. I would love to find one of those.
Oh my goodness. I spent years looking in some of the only places where you can find them up here, and I've only found one. I found it twice, so I found the same snake 2 weeks apart, but I only found one. And then now they're cracking down super hard in New England on people who are out there looking for them, that they put up trail cams, and they're, if you get caught in the places where they're at, they'll fine you, and you can face jail time and all this stuff. So after I found all that stuff out, I was like, yeah, I don't need to see him that bad. I saw the one.
Well, you found it twice, so you got that feeling twice.
Yeah, exactly. I was like super freaking pumped. I like the first time I found it, I was like shaking. I was so excited. It was underneath a rock, and it was like a huge rock, and I was standing there talking with the guy who I was out there with, and he's like, yeah, usually you see him, and it was a little bit overcast that day, and I was like, usually you'll see them out in the open. They'll sit like right out on the rocks, but on overcast days sometimes you'll see them right on the edges. And so I had flipped this rock over, and I see it under there, and it immediately start rattling. And I was like, "Oh shit, it's right there! Holy fuck!" And I'm losing my mind, going off, like absolutely going off because I was so pumped. And I just sat there like just staring at it for like 10 minutes, and he's like, dude, are you gonna go look for some other stuff? And I was like, I need to just soak this in for a minute.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you guys have seen, like, you don't just see reptiles out there. So you guys saw, like, the sawfish out there, and you see them hunting?
Yeah, so in Flamingo, the park, where the boat ramp is, there's usually some crocodiles there, and seasonally there's sawfish. And we saw, I don't know if it's multiple babies or if it's just this one that hangs out there, but we see only one at a time. And he just comes up to the boat ramp, and you can see him hunting and using his little saw.
That's so
awesome.
Freaking cool. I remember the first time that I saw that you guys had posted a video about that, I was like, wait a second. How did they catch footage of it hunting? Because I literally was watching a documentary like 2 weeks earlier, and they were like, we don't really know what the sawfish saw. We theorize that they use it to hunt their prey and stun them or stab them with the saw. And then I saw you guys literally seeing them jab the fish with it, and I was like, how come they caught it but National Geographic can't catch that shit? Right. Why is that?
Because they haven't been to that spot.
True.
Now they know they gotta go there.
Legit. I was like, that is so freaking cool. It's so cool.
Hell yeah.
But you don't do field herping like exclusively. You still have got some of your own pet reptiles, and you're doing a lot with like socialization and enrichment with your lizards. And I think that's like super, super cool. And you just posted on your Instagram recently for people to share their enrichment that they're doing with their lizards. So what are the things that you're doing, and then what are some of the things you're seeing that other people are doing?
Yeah, so I love enrichment, especially with animals that are under our care. In the wild, as you know, they're constantly stimulated, and I think if we have them, we should provide stimulation for them. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things that I do, I just shared on my Instagram. You probably saw my black throat monitor. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have to cut you off. This wild cat just hunted a tokay gecko that was on my house just now.
Holy crap! What?
Oh my god, I can't believe I just saw that.
Oh shit. Wow. I mean,
yeah, that was crazy.
One invasive
taking out another,
yeah.
So
yeah.
That's nuts.
Damn. Florida.
The
wilds of the US.
Yeah, anyways, so I got this cardboard box that I got from Amazon, and I just, took all the tape off, and I stuffed some of my black throat monitor's favorite food in there, and I filled it with, like, mulberry leaves, so he has to really look for it, and I gave it to him, and it's just like if you were in the wild digging up eggs. It's mental and it's physical stimulation, and I think that sometimes people forget that reptiles need that too.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's not just lizards that need it, even snakes need it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, I keep scrub pythons, and I always talk about how like smart they are. So you can see their mind moving when you're interacting with them. And that's one of the things that I'm like super excited for when I can get a little bit of a bigger area for them and kind of do that enrichment with them and a little bit of stimulation where you can, I know a lot of people will bring leaves in around fall time up here, and they'll put them in their reptiles enclosure so that they can smell all those new smells that they wouldn't be getting or they'll take sheds from one enclosure and put it in another enclosure to kind of just get something different in there to keep their mind moving. That's why, like, when people keep crested geckos, or like in our store we sell a lot of crested geckos, and people are like, can I just raise them on Repashy? It's like, yeah, you can, but I always encourage people to give them insects also, so that they get to hunt things and they get to feel that kind of natural feel that they would get in the wild, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, just the sense alone is such an easy thing you can do for your snakes, and it really gets their minds working if they smell new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so true. I feel, especially as we learn more about the intelligence of reptiles, like a lot of it ties into scent.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a big aspect of their life and just how they navigate through. So anything you can do to change up the scent of something in the enclosure, or just throwing something, I guess you could say, alien into the enclosure, just provides some sort of mental stimuli for them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that, like, one of the things I see a lot up at Nerd is the water monitors. Like, even just new people coming into the room, like, even if you're not interacting with the specific animal itself, just new people being in the room will almost always get the water monitors to come, like, right up to the edge of their enclosure. They're flicking their tongues, trying to take a peek out, see what people are doing, and they're, very interested in what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
They're really intelligent animals. I think they're a little underestimated sometimes.
100%.
Oh, 100%. Especially once you've gotten them past that fear.
Mm-hmm.
When you no longer have to deal with the fight or flight response, and it's literally just like, "What's up, bro?" Like,
yeah.
Then you really get to see that behavior, that curiosity really manifest, and that's something really special for sure.
Mm-hmm. And it's tougher because a lot of people that keep reptiles, like a lot of people who are just getting into it, keep things like leopard geckos and bearded dragons that might be a little bit lower on the food chain, especially when they're younger. So like a leopard gecko, when it's a baby, a lot of things eat it. So they don't have, like, I feel like they don't have that kind of thought going on. But you can see as they get bigger, they definitely have more situational awareness of what's going on around them. And they can kind of judge you by what you're doing and how you interact with them, as opposed to like the babies that sometimes just kind of bug
they just freak out.
Yeah.
Well,
they get more confidence and they
Yes.
can do more things.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things that I used to do because when I first started keeping and breeding leopard geckos, I did it all in tanks because that's just what you did way back then. When you do like a deep clean on the enclosure, obviously new bedding and all that stuff provides new smells and new things to investigate, but you just change up the layout of the enclosure. So even if you don't have a lot of stuff in there, if all of a sudden the hide goes from the right side of the cage to the left side of the cage, like, what?
Yeah.
This is fairly familiar, but something's wrong.
Another thing that I think is really easy is changing up the feeding schedule. I know for a long time I fed on Wednesdays every single week. And then you can tell that the snakes are anticipating food on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And so if you do it on Tuesday or you do it on Saturday or you skip a week, it's not going to hurt them, but it's going to get them thinking like, hey, where's my food? Oh, I'm getting food early. Oh, I'm getting food later.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've done for a really long time is I don't go by a set schedule for when I'm going to feed things. There might be a month where I feed them every single week, and there might be a month where I feed them, once every other week. Just where it changes things up a little bit. It keeps them, interactive. It keeps their mind moving. And I think it's a lot more natural for them. I think it's very unnatural that people are doing like that every single week. It needs to eat on this day. And people get caught up on the like care sheets where it's like pick a day and feed it on that day, and you have to feed it once a week. And if it varies from that, they get super panicked. When in the wild, the snakes don't have someone going, "Oh, it's Wednesday, it's feeding day." They just kind of catch whatever they can.
The rats.
Yeah, the appropriately sized rats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think changing the diet too is also another good idea. Instead of giving it just a large rat every single week, give it a 2 small rats or a chick or something different.
That has been my biggest hurdle with keeping snakes in particular, is because when I like got into keeping a bunch of snakes. I kept mostly ball pythons, and the thought of trying to feed a ball python anything other than something that's readily available scared the hell out of me. I was like, they're eating rats. I want them to keep eating. Just keep eating. That's all I care about. And I don't want you to do anything else. But now that I've got like scrubs and short tails and stuff, I'm like, let's give them a chick. Let's give them a quail chick. Let's see what happens. Let's give them some of this. Let's give them some of that. Who cares? And I feel like it definitely does benefit them in the long term, as opposed to just giving them one consistent, type of food item.
Definitely.
I remember back in the days of ball pythons, if you had a ball python eating rats and then all of a sudden would go off food, someone would recommend African soft furs. And then if they got the taste in their mouth for African soft furs, you couldn't do anything else. And the likelihood of you knowing somebody who had a readily available supply,
and I'm pretty sure they were illegal in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
I had them for a little while.
Was like, I bred them for a while too. I was like, these things are great, and then couldn't continue to breed them anymore. It was like, cool. So terrible. I guess I'm selling that ball python.
Yeah, I guess I gotta get rid of that ball python now because it won't eat anything else.
Yeah, I'd literally rather deal with a jungle carpet that's a mouser than deal with a ball python that only wants African soft furs.
Oof.
Oh, man.
But not all snakes are like that. So
for sure.
Definitely with the I've just recently got some broad-banded water snakes, and like I'm looking at maybe getting a couple other locales of broad-banded water snakes. And the guys who do the Neurodia, the guys who breed water snakes, or the people who breed water snakes in the U.S., they are like, feed it something different every time you feed it. Give it fish, give it chicken, give it something that, give it tadpoles. Go to the, market and see if you can get frog's legs and give it frog's legs. Or, change it up all the time. As much as you can change it up every time that you feed it. And I'm like, going from ball pythons where it's like, feed it, make sure it's eating it, don't ever change it, to like these guys that are like, feed it a chicken wing, see if it'll eat it. It's like,
I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see, because if you kind of pigeonhole yourself into one aspect of the hobby, or one aspect of keeping reptiles, you won't have learned that. You won't have gotten, it's good to change things up every now and again. If you just stay with ball pythons, you probably would never ever get that from anybody. They're gonna say, keep feeding it, make sure it feeds until it breeds. And it's like, it's a lot better for the animal long term if you kind of don't follow that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's quite a few people that I've seen in the realm of carpet python that have been a little more, I guess you could say, verbal about different prey, feeding different prey. A few people I've seen have really gone down the routes of birds, chicks or quail or whatever. And I have yet to do that, only because even though we have a supply at Nerd, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into a situation where suddenly something only wants that or would prefer that, and I don't have access to it. So I'm like, okay, once a month, I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to change it a little bit, but God forbid.
Yeah, but even that is great. Even if you don't have a steady supply of it, or you're worried that they're going to go off of their normal food, even just once a month is something different.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely just changes things up just a little bit. And so you work with a lot of lizards, or you got some lizards, and then Ryan does a little bit of the snakes and stuff, and he's got some rhino rat snakes, and you guys have been growing some of those out, and those are like the cutest little things ever.
Yeah, they're awesome. These are the first two that I've raised. I've never had them before Ryan, and so I've really enjoyed raising these two girls.
It's super interesting that they start out so like bland colored, and then as they're growing, as they mature, they change into these like magnificent green or green blue animals. It's just like, you never ever would have thought that if you just like found a baby one, you'd be like, what is this thing? It's a, whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy because we have one girl right now. Her name is Jade. And she is so green that in the pictures, I feel like I have to turn the saturation down so it looks like I didn't turn it up.
Yeah.
Because it's so green.
That's awesome.
That is pretty awesome, actually.
But until you see one in person, it's like, people would be like, oh, you're just doctoring that photo to make it look nice. And it's like, no, they actually look really
They actually
nice.
do
Yeah.
look really nice. Yeah.
Exactly.
I like the fact that rhino rats are a colubrid that not completely, but it can be a little bit more bold, especially if you put it in an enclosure where it has the ability to climb and do all those things. They will utilize it.
Everything.
They'll find a place to
Water-based
bask
things. Oh, yeah.
and use it.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate
Yeah.
that a lot about them, because I feel like if you didn't know anything about them and you saw a picture of them, you'd be like, that kind of looks like a reclusive,
Yeah,
you
looks
know,
like it
little
lives
thin
underground.
colubrid. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very active, very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys do like changing up your feeding regimen with them? What do you guys usually feed them?
Right now I just have the babies on rat pinkies.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll do, like I said, I'll do like 2 little mice pinkies,
Mm.
or I'll skip a week or 2. I try to mix it up, but right
Cool.
now they're just on rodents.
Yeah, because I know a couple of people who have bred them, and they're like, those babies are the pickiest babies. They don't want to eat anything, and it's like,
Fish.
yeah, fish. They want to eat fish, and
Yep.
it's like you got to put like a little shallow dish of water with like just barely enough water to cover the minnows' backs, or the little guppies' backs. And
Yeah.
then they got to be able to hang down into the dish, and they'll let their nose touch the water so that it feels the movement of the water, and then they'll like swing their faces around until they grab something.
Yeah, at first they were a little picky, but
Mhm.
once they ate 2 or 3 times, now they're rock solid.
Mm.
Yeah, that seems to be a pretty stable theme for them. Once
Yep.
they're eating, they've gotten a little bit of size. You start to get them onto the rodents, and after like 2 or 3 times feeding on rodents, they absolutely crush it. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank God they're not anything more difficult than that.
Well, you know what that leads me to, though? That makes me think of how people have been doing with the dragon snakes, because dragon snakes
Oh,
are always
yeah.
considered just like, oh, don't get them, they'll die. And then now that people have actually been, exploring other food items, and they found out that they like tadpoles and they like fish and stuff like that, there's actually a bunch of people who are doing pretty well with keeping them
Yeah.
successfully and doing really well with them. And it's just getting out of that box that, like, for so long people were kind of strapped into, okay, you get a snake, you feed it mice, you breed it. And it's like, some snakes don't do that,
Yeah.
because like sunbeam snakes are one of the ones that I always think of, because people love sunbeam snakes. Like, you post a picture of a sunbeam snake and people fall in love with them because of how iridescent they are. But if you try and keep them like a ball python, you'll kill them, because that's not where they live. That's not how they
Yeah.
survive. That's not how they thrive. But if you keep them like a sunbeam snake, if you keep them on moss and keep it humid and not too hot, they do great. They do awesome. It's just getting outside of that box of, I keep it on paper, I give it a water dish, I give it a hide box, I feed it a rat, and that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm starting to see more of that. I see a lot of people, exploring new avenues, and especially I just posted this enrichment thing yesterday,
Mhm.
and a lot of people have tagged me in their reptile enrichment ideas, which I think is so cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how this is growing. I was just doing an Instagram live the other day, and the topic of enrichment got brought up, and I feel like there's, just like anything else in the industry, there's a whole spectrum when it comes to the enrichment thought process.
Yes.
You have the people who are like, I don't know, just throw like a toilet paper tube in there, it'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other people that are like, no, like literally we're going to take like a slice of the jungle and put it in and make it an enclosure, and there's the full kind of gambit of that.
Mhm.
And I think it's awesome. Of course, just like anything else, though, the people who are totally on one side of the extreme or the other don't know when to shut their mouth
Yes.
and listen to another
Yeah.
side of the opinion. But I do think it's that it's a really great trend that's starting to come over. People are actually taking a more serious interest in, I guess you could say, the mental health of their animals. Just
Mhm.
making sure they are doing things. Because it does matter. It definitely does
It
matter.
absolutely matters, and not only is it good for them mentally, but if they're mentally stimulated and mentally happy, then they will perform physically better. There are some crocodiles that I'm working with now that have never bred in, I don't even know how many years, at this one facility that they were living at. and then they moved to a different facility, and they had all of this new stuff to do. They had a new exhibit, new food, a different routine, and they've bred twice already.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is really cool. Heck
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I think one of the things that kind of certainly plays into that is, this is something again that I was just talking about the other day. You can attempt to breed something, but just because you have a pair of things together doesn't mean they will breed.
Oh yeah.
If they, whether it be a cycling thing or just the environment isn't right for them, like if they don't want to reproduce, they will not reproduce.
Yeah.
And I feel like, the very few exceptions for like some of the, I guess, super easy to breed species would be like, well, if it's already cycling and it gets paired up and it continues to go through its cycle, then that's one thing. But overall, if you're just starting with a random pair of animals, if they don't feel like their conditions are right, they won't breed. I mean, we even see that with like rodents. If it gets too hot, your production is going to fail, because they can't maintain it.
Yeah, I think that's also species specific too, because ball pythons, they will live in a rack in, barely enough space to turn around, and they'll breed all day.
Yeah, very true.
But, these American crocodiles, they want what they want to perform. So I think it's very species specific.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would even piggyback onto that and say like where your range, wherever you're located, plays quite a large role in it too, and how well you're able to dial in your parameters for that species. Like I know I've talked to a bunch of people that breed carpets, and a lot of carpet python breeders keep and breed their stuff in cages. And when I was starting to breed carpets, I had all my stuff in cages and could not for the life of me breed carpet pythons. And one year I was like, you know what? I just want to put them in a rack and see if they do any better. And I had like 100% success. And the only thing that changed was having them in a cage to putting them in a rack. But the rack was almost identical dimensions-wise. It was just shorter height-wise.
Right.
But all the other parameters were the same, and I was like, I don't know why this worked, but I'm not going back to cages right away.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, it also depends on the individual animal, because there are some more animals that are more high-strung. Like, I've had bloods where if you put them in a cage, they lose their minds because they just feel like constantly things are looking at them. But if you keep them in a rack, they're super calm, super, relaxed. But, literally within a day of putting them into a cage, a front opening cage, they just freak out. Like, even just when you walk into the room, just thrashing around inside of the enclosure because they're not happy. And it definitely plays a role in which species you're talking about and all that sort of stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
And we cannot have you on the show without talking about your love for tortoises.
Yes.
Is it that obvious?
Just a little. But you've got a couple tortoises of your own, right?
I do.
And then you also visit some really, really big tortoises.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your tortoises, and then maybe a little bit about the galops and all that sort of stuff.
So I have 2 sulcata tortoises, and I don't even know how many redfoots, about 20, and then some radiated tortoises, and a star tortoise, and an elongated tortoise, and a couple yellowfoots. But oh my gosh, I love them so much. I enjoy taking care of them so much. I can't get enough of it, honestly.
They're such interesting creatures,
Yeah.
They are, and they're so, I think, underappreciated, because a lot of people think that they're just like rocks with legs, but they're so smart.
They are. Sometimes. They've got so much personality. Like, redfoots have got the most personality. Like, every single redfoot has a different personality, and a lot of them are sassy.
Yes, and speaking of different personalities, 2 of my redfoots, they're omnivores. They don't just eat veggies and fruit. In the wild they eat a lot of carrion and all kinds of stuff. So I offer that to them here as well, but 2 of my redfoots will not touch anything but a fruit or vegetable.
Really?
They gag. They literally gag.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's really crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I posted a video on my Instagram like probably a year ago, but they stick their tongues out and they like make a noise when I show them a worm or an egg or something else other
That's
than
hilarious.
Yeah, it's so weird.
That is so weird because like most of the redfoots that we've got at Nerd, every now and again I'll give them like a frozen thawed rat, or I'll give them a little piece of chicken or something, a little anything extra I got hanging around, and most of ours are like, oh yeah, that's the stuff, because it really only makes up like 10% of their diet, but every now and again I like to just like sprinkle it in there, just give them a little something extra.
Yeah.
And the ones that we got really like it a lot. Like, it's scary. I'm like, if I lay down on the ground too long, I feel like you're trying to eat me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they will definitely eat you alive. I don't lay down in my redfoot enclosure because of that reason only.
Like, legislation against giant snakes is crap. It should be the
It's
killer
tortoises.
tortoises.
No more laws.
Oh, and then you go to a spot where you get to check out some Galapagos tortoises.
Yeah, I go to my friend Jason Abel's house. He is the coolest person on the planet. You should follow him. He has 10 Galapagos tortoises and 1 Aldabra tortoise. And yeah, that's like my zen area. I go there, we hang out with the Galaps, we talk a bunch of tortoise nerdy stuff. It's awesome.
That is
freaking awesome.
So do you find that those guys even have their own personalities too?
Oh my gosh, yes. I've learned them very well. Some of them, there's probably like 5 that you can guarantee will come up to you when you walk into the habitat. And then there's like 3 that will definitely not walk up to you. And then the rest, they might come over if you have some food or if they're feeling really lovey. But, they all have their own personalities for sure.
That's awesome.
I look at, like, Aldabras and Galapagos, and I'm like, that's a really cool animal. And then I'm like, what happens when you need to move it someplace? Like, just, like, you need to move it from one area of the pen to the other part of the pen. I'm like...
You got 10 years, I feel, before that becomes real difficult.
Yeah. Lots of patience. Lots of patience.
They love the color red.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. When I have to move, even my sulcatas, I just bring out a hibiscus or a strawberry or anything red, they will follow.
That is really cool.
So don't wear red pants when you go visit tortoises.
You see, when we do the tours at Nerd, or when we have people to Nerd, a lot of time during the summertime, people wear sandals, and a lot of women will have like red painted nails, and the tortoises are like, "Oh, what's that there?" And I'm like, "Leave them alone! Leave them alone! Stop that!" I'm like, "You gotta stand over there. Watch out! They're very slow, but they're assassins. I'm telling you."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If you're distracted, they are very fast.
They can be.
That's true.
100%.
That is true. I mean, we see that all the time. So during the winter, we bring all of our tortoises inside into the cave, and if somebody leaves the door open just for a little minute too long, you'll see like it's usually the sulcatas that are like, the door. It's my time. And they will make a beeline, especially some of those smaller ones will make a beeline for the door and be like, adventure!
Everyone thinks the tortoises are so slow, but no, when they got someplace they want to be.
Yep.
Oh yeah, they can move.
They're little Tonka trucks, man, just ram themselves right into wherever they want to go.
Pretty much.
Yep.
We had a big sulcata that we just rehomed recently because he was basically tearing holes in our walls, and like we couldn't get him to stay in the doors. He would literally open the doors, which is so bad because like we were like, oh, it's okay. He should be good for another like year, and then we'll be able to like set something up for him. And he figured out that if he pushes the door, he can push past the latch on the door and push it open.
Oh, because it's yeah.
Because we have double doors there.
Yeah.
And he figured out that he can open it up, and he was letting out all the other tortoises. So, like, I would come in the morning, and there's a sulcata as a doorstop, and there's redfoot tortoises all over the top floor of the building. And I'm like, oh, crap, I'm not going to go collect tortoises for an hour.
Army.
Yeah. It's Tortoise Armageddon.
The Great Escape. Oh, my gosh. Jeez.
What?
Yeah, pass. They shouldn't be that smart. I'm just saying.
And it wasn't even like he would like open the door and like leave. He would open the door and sit there so that all the other ones could get out.
Oh.
Maybe he just wanted that cool air. You know,
Maybe.
I mean, come on. There hasn't been a day that's gone by when we're in the cave that we don't open the door and just be like, because that room is abrasive sometimes.
Oh, but sulcatas, they like that stuff.
True.
So, do you do like enrichment stuff with your tortoises and like for feeding regimens or like outside of that?
Yeah, so obviously they're very food motivated.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like to do is I'll hang stuff like from the trees just where they can reach it, but they have to really stretch. Even for the sulcatas, which typically in the wild they wouldn't be reaching up for food.
Yeah.
But it's still something different for them if it's a really yummy snack like a tomato or something.
Mm-hmm.
To get them to work for it, use different muscles. So that's one of the things. I'll also do like scatter feeding. I don't offer them fruit often because they don't need that in their diet. But when I do enrichment, I'll offer them some, like little grapes, and I'll just scatter it around. And so they don't get a whole clump of grapes in one couple bites.
They don't gorge themselves.
They have to work for it a little.
I can totally picture them being like, wait, one grape? Wait, where's more grapes?
Yeah. There must be more grapes.
There must be more.
Another thing that they really like is like scratches on the shell. Like obviously you don't scratch into their shell, but you kind of rub their butt a little bit. They'll do a little booty shake. And I've seen people make like brushes for them to walk under, and they'll kind of rub their shells on the brushes.
Huh.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
they really enjoy it. Yeah.
See, I always thought that they were not liking it because I picture them just being like, leave me alone, don't touch me like that.
Yeah.
That could be the case too. But when I see them going up to that brush, it makes me think maybe they like it.
Exactly. If you put a brush in a stationary place and they go up to it and do it, that probably means
Maybe
they like it.
so. Yeah. I wonder if there's any sort of context in the wild where like they would
what
find,
they would be doing that for.
Yeah, like going through maybe like to even just clean off their shell, if they're
shell,
like sitting in mud or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they would. That's interesting. It's an interesting.
Yeah,
behavior.
I think it goes hand in hand with the galops when they finch.
Mm-hmm.
Because, in the wild, they'll stand up really tall so that the finches can come and, eat the ticks and all the bugs off of them, which is exactly the reason that they do it when, I go up to them and start scratching their necks. I'm doing it because I love them and I think they're cute, but they're doing it because they think I'm eating the bugs off of them.
Right.
Things to think about.
Yeah,
it's always funny
true.
to me, like when I get people on the tour, or when people who come to Nerd, and I'm teaching them about the tortoises, and I'll show them we've got a turtle shell, a snapping turtle shell, that is from an animal that had passed away. So we cleaned it out, so you can see the vertebrae and you can see the ribs and everything. And the amount of people who are like, "Wait, you're telling me that that's its back? Its shell is its back?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is its back." And guess what? They can feel when you touch them, so don't be mean to them. And they're like, "What do you mean? I thought that it was just like a hermit crab's shell." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's part of its body. Be nice to turtles."
Yeah. That is stuck on them forever.
Yes.
Oof.
Yeah. And I can tell the people who have like been mean to turtles before, because I'm like, it's part of their skeleton. If you like break their shell, it's like breaking a bone. And they're like, "Oh no."
Oh no.
And I'm like,
"Oh no."
Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh no, what did you do?"
Evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell me, please don't tell me.
Yeah,
Horrible.
no. That's
But-
when you immediately just find that person and just automatic shame. Just shame.
No, what I do is, now that you've learned this, be nice to turtles. And now
yeah.
go up to that turtle over there and pet it and be nice to it.
Yeah.
And get them to
Yep.
actually have a positive interaction with it, because maybe that can change their direction that they were thinking about turtles before. Because if they felt some sort of way, if they have a positive experience with one, they're not going to want to be mean to another one in the future.
True.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Hopefully. Oof.
Who can dislike turtles?
I
I
feel
don't
like
understand.
I feel like people love turtles too much.
Maybe so.
Because I get a lot of people who call the store and they're like, I want to get a turtle. And I'm like, first off, are you prepared to take care of a turtle? Because I understand that you're well-intentioned, but turtles are a lot of work.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Do you remember that that offsite party you did last year when they called up and the lady was like, "No turtles"?
Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
That
She
was the
specifically
strangest
requested
thing.
no turtles. Do not bring any turtles to this program. And I was like, why? I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, I don't-
somebody
What?
unnecessarily afraid of turtles or
yeah.
something. What was
I
it?
guess one of the kids was afraid of turtles, like legitimately, like post-traumatic stress, afraid of turtles.
So they were okay with like snakes and lizards?
Yep, totally fine with those, but it's got a shell. It's the end of the world.
Wow, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
I've also had someone who's afraid of frogs. They're like deathly afraid of frogs.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, they
Yeah,
wrote on the
I've-
thing,
I've
do
done
not
that.
bring frogs. Don't bring frogs. And I was like, frogs? The things that barely have any like way to hurt you? Those ones?
Yeah. I think people
my
don't
God.
like them because they're slimy. But
I guess.
why dislike them? Because they're like they have weird skin, okay? But why do you not like that?
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. I would, if I knew that was a person in the store or something, I would purposely be carrying containers of frogs. I'd be like, I love these frogs. These frogs are awesome.
Because the frog's not going to hurt them. What is it going to
Yeah.
do? Come on.
Yeah.
A lot of people down here don't like the cane toads.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're invasive, okay, I understand. But they are my favorite amphibian in the world.
Really?
And I don't know why people don't like them. I think they're so cute, and unfortunately they're here, but fortunately for us we get to enjoy them, so why not enjoy them?
Yeah, I mean, if I saw them in the wild, I'd be like, "Grr, get out of here." But we've got cane toads at our store, and I'm like, you're pretty cool. I like you.
They're pretty cool.
You're chill.
When you see those giant ones, man, it's always an impressive sight when you get to really see one of those like monsters. You're like, that's a big motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
those Suriname ones.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I like to bring one of those in a container, but I like to bring it out like as the last amphibian. And what I do is I bring like a woodhouse toad or like some sort of smaller toad, and I'm like, look at this toad, isn't this cool? And they're like, yeah, that's cool. And I'm like, you want to see something that's bigger? And then I take out like a pixie frog or like something that's intermediate, like a big what are they called? Colorado river toads.
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
yeah,
bigger
yeah.
than the toads that we have here, but they're still like not as big as a marine toad. And they're like, that's the biggest toad I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, just wait.
3 pounds of
You
toad.
haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, and then you bring out Hypno Toad, and they're like,
Oh,
and everyone's like, "What is that mutant?"
yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Was it? I think it was like Bill Love back in the day had like shared a photo that it was like clearly photoshopped. It was like this massive freaking marine toad that was like human sized.
oh my God! That's,
And if
that's
I wonder if I
actually
can
scary.
find that photo again, because I was like, that can't be real. That 100% needs to be photoshopped. Otherwise, I'd be running.
legit.
I love amphibians, but I'd be running the hell away from a marine toad
Oh,
that big.
Yeah, after watching.
If that were real, I would pay a lot of money for it.
Oh my God! I just feel like I would have an accident. It would accidentally grab my arm, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is how it ends."
Yeah.
And it's
Oh my
like
God.
gumming me down my arm, and I'm like,
Oh
"This
my
is terrible.
God.
It's soft. Why? Why?"
Dude, could you imagine how far that thing could hop?
No, I can't
It'd be
imagine.
like a semi truck in one hop. That would be amazing.
Imagine if it hopped into you, though. It could probably knock you the fuck out.
Oh, dude, it would be worse than a belly bump from Dan.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh my goodness. That would be something else. That would be something else.
Oh,
So, do you have a lot of cane toads that pop up in your area?
Yeah, I'm looking at one right now.
What? What? Wait, like a wild one?
Yeah, I'm in my front yard and she just like hopped around because we have the porch light on, so
Yeah.
the bugs come, and so she's probably looking for some beetles.
That'll
There
do
you
it.
go.
I feel like if I lived in Florida, I would never get any sleep because of things like that. I would be like, I can't wait to go out and see what's the next thing I'm gonna find.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm that type of person.
Yeah, that's fair. But I would, if I was with you though.
Yeah.
At some point, I'd throw something at you.
Oh, 100%.
If it's like 1 a.m. and you're like, another toad!
I gotta get it. Jared's like, go to sleep.
sleep.
Can we get 3 hours of sleep tonight? And I'm
Yeah.
like, but it's Tokyo Gecko hour.
Yeah. Oof. Oof.
But the cane toads aren't like the only invasive thing that you see down there. What are some of the other species that you've seen in your travels? Because you sent me pictures of some of the spiders you guys see down there, and I'm like geeking out because I love spiders so much. You guys see so many cool different kinds. But
My gosh, yes.
And you guys also see like a bunch of reptiles and stuff too.
Yeah, as far as invasive species, the majority of the reptiles we see are invasive, at least like around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's, red-headed agamas, basilisk, all the brown anoles. The green anoles, there were 2 different species down here, and they just put them together because one was invasive and one was native. And then they were like, I don't know the exact science behind it, but they look so similar. I can't even tell them apart. I think they were just like, you know what, fuck it, let's put them together. They're all native.
They're like, yeah, they're all the same
At this
thing.
point, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so thankfully, all the green anoles I see now are native.
That's good.
Yeah, so what else do I see? The cane toads, obviously, tokays, the Burmese pythons are a big one, caiman, I don't know,
like Cuban night
everything.
anoles and stuff.
Yeah, the night anoles, iguanas, what else?
That's
There's
wild.
so much.
Yeah, I couldn't. I would be like, what weird thing am I gonna find now? Because like up here, I know exactly what I'm gonna find. I know what kind of habitat I'm gonna find it in, and there's never a surprise. It's never like I show up to a spot that's got boards and stuff, and I flip something over, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a milk snake. It's always like or like a Honduran. It's always just like, oh, it's a regular eastern milk snake.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a garter snake.
Yeah.
Lots of garter snakes. Lots and lots of garter snakes.
Garter snakes, yeah.
You never know what you're gonna find, even if it's not one of those, normal invasives that we see. I'm always on the lookout for like Nile monitors and bug scrub pythons. You never know.
I would lose my shit if I found a wild scrub python.
Yeah.
Whenever Ryan and I are out in the Everglades, we always say, what would be the craziest thing to find right now? And sometimes we're like, oh, it would be a croc monitor.
Yes.
Or an anaconda or something like that. But
Sheesh.
It's all possible because everyone has everything down here. And if it gets out, it will probably survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's true. Oof.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, up here, there's never a surprise. Like, the only thing that came as a surprise, like, quote-unquote surprise, near my hometown where I grew up in Massachusetts, someone sulcata tortoise dug underneath their fence and got out into the town square. And so animal control called someone who ended up calling my mom, and my mom calls me. She's like, do you know who lost this sulcata tortoise? I was like, hold on. Let me text somebody. I texted my buddy, and I was like, hey, do you know where your sulcata tortoise is right now? He texted me. He's like, I just went in my backyard. It dug out of my freaking backyard. And I was like, oh, I knew exactly who it came from. But
wow,
it's like,
that's great. You were able to track it down so fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's not as many people up here who keep things, I think, as there are down there.
Yeah.
And then, with it being such a, our climate during the wintertime gets so cold that you can't really do outdoor enclosures most of the year. And with that, it definitely limits the ways people are willing to keep things. So it definitely, I don't know, it makes things a little bit tougher for people. And I feel like down in Florida, you guys got much better, temperatures and everything, so it's a little bit easier to accommodate for having bigger enclosures and all that stuff. But then it also leads to potentially stuff getting out. So it's like,
Yeah, well, just build your enclosures good and stuff won't get out.
Yeah, seriously.
It's true.
It's not that hard.
Solid advice for all of you who keep things outside. Don't suck at what you build.
Yeah, if you love your animal that much, I would cry if my animals got out. So if you love it that much, just make a secure enclosure.
Legit.
Yep.
And even if you don't think that it would dig to get out, like there's certain animals that are like, oh, they don't dig, it's fine. No, keep going.
Do it anyway.
Keep going deeper.
Yeah.
Make sure you got it as covered as possible so that you don't have any accidents,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cover all your bases, even the imaginary ones.
Yep.
Because that one you forget about will become the realest base that you should have covered.
Yeah. That's all. You're like, I don't gotta
they
worry
will
about
find
that.
it.
Yeah.
The croc monitors at Nerd, we had them in a corner enclosure that's like probably 10 feet long by 8 feet long, and it goes floor to ceiling. And it's got basking platforms and all this stuff, and the walls are smooth plastic. And I'm like, okay, we're cool, everything's chill. And then I come in one morning, and there's a 7-foot croc monitor in the middle of the floor, and I'm like, how did you get out?
Oh, no.
How did you get out? All the walls are smooth. How did you get out? And all of a sudden, I hear the Jurassic Park theme song playing in the background. I'm like, no, this will not happen here. I put it back, and the next morning, same thing. It got out again, and I'm like, how are you getting out? It doesn't even make any sense. So we literally had to put it in a little bit of a smaller enclosure that has a roof to it because it kept figuring out how to get out of all the ones that didn't have a roof covering on them. Mm-hmm. Ridiculous.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes it was literally just like the parts of the wall that joined together, like those little joint pieces. Mm-hmm. It provided like
just
the
enough
tiniest
for a claw.
little lip.
Yep.
And it was like, because I remember I got a video of one like on it.
Yep.
And it's like just enough where they can get their claws into it and hold themselves up. And I'm like, man, if it did that and was able to get just close enough to the edge, all it needs to do where the door is get 1 foot on the door, and then it's a wrap.
Yep.
It's out.
Yeah.
It's out.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like, when I say just big enough for a claw, I'm talking like under a centimeter.
Yes.
Like
my nails wouldn't catch it.
Yeah. Like amazing. Absolutely amazing. Ugh. Gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. No.
They're too smart.
They're way too smart.
Because, like, when we were talking with Ryan about the Komodos and everything, he's like, I like the Komodos. They're really cool, but I like croc monitors more. And I'm like, croc monitors are one of the only reptiles that, like, makes me nervous when I interact with them because of how smart they are and how, like, well-equipped they are to do damage, because their teeth are so brutal, and even their claws are brutal. Like, I've had a croc monitor tear through my jeans like it was nothing, like it was butter. Like, its claw just like went right through and then ripped, like you took a blade and just sliced right down it like nothing. And I'm like, oh, my skin is fragile and marshmallow compared to this thing.
Yeah. Jason Abel's the Galapagos tortoise guy. He used to keep croc monitors, and these were not the puppy dog croc monitors that you see on Instagram. Mm-hmm. These were like real deal. They will stand up at the door, all business croc monitors. Mm-hmm. And they would sometimes slice each other open, and Jason learned how to suture them together when they just fight each other, and their skin is so incredibly tough. So imagine, what their teeth are capable of doing if they just slice each other open so easily like that.
Yup. Yeah, we got a couple of those at Nerd. Like, our water monitors are great, but the croc monitors, not all of them are so great.
Yeah.
One of the babies, I was packing a baby that we had socialized really well, and the thing was great if it was just like sitting on your arm or like just casually walking around on you. But when I went to put it back in the bag, it had a flashback to Nam, because the thing like lost its mind and like ran straight to the bottom of the bag. So I like grabbed the end of the bag to keep it from coming back out, and it bit my hand through the bag and sliced me wide open, like through the bag. And I was like, that was through like not a Kevlar bag, but like a
But
very
good,
thick bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that thing could just grab my skin, I would be filleted right now.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? You know what's amazing is like certainly the baby water monitors are nowhere near as bad as baby croc monitors just for that. But like I remember last season putting some baby water monitors away, and one of them had like freaked and bit me, and I was like, that's actually quite an amazing bite for a 7-day-old
baby
reptile. So like that put a lot more into perspective for me, because I'm like, okay, obviously I know these things can cause some serious damage if they bite in the right spot, but yeah, I was like,
it'll wake you up.
Cool. This just got a little more real.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see, since Ryan does all the skulls and the bone articulation, you can really break down their anatomy, and he's done a few croc monitors, and you can see their teeth are just specifically designed to shred. And then you look at something like a black throat monitor, and their teeth are designed to crush. And it's just so cool to see how they've evolved into these perfect predators for their habitat.
Yeah, for sure.
I was we got contacted by a lab that was doing studies on Nile monitors, because apparently Nile monitors, when they're under 3 foot or so, they've got teeth that are designed to catch a certain type of prey, and then once they get over 3 feet, part of their teeth get replaced with a different kind of tooth that's for a different kind of prey. And so they're doing dentition analysis on Nile monitors that are small and then Nile monitors that are bigger, to try and get a idea of what specifically it's designed for, and to see if it's all Nile monitors or just like certain locales of them that have this happen to them.
Really wow, crazy. That is so interesting.
Right? It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember when they were hitting us up for that. I was like, what are you
I was like, we don't really have a lot of Nile monitors, but we do have a couple we can send you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much we don't know.
That is the
you know
really
what
interesting
I mean?
part.
It really is amazing how much we don't know. But also I think probably one of the more exciting things, especially is, you know, everything in the world is changing at such a fast rate. You know, technology is changing, science is changing at such a fast rate. So I feel like we'll see and hear more of these bizarre things in this industry and hobby faster, which is amazing.
Yes.
You know, I would love to like talk to some of the real old school keepers and be like, what's something you know now that you never thought was even really a thing about reptiles back when you first started doing it? You know?
I feel like a lot of those people would be like, I didn't realize they were so smart.
Yeah.
Or like,
fair enough. Yeah.
I feel like real reptile people know that they're smart, but I feel like the more that we're finding out how smart they are, I think that's really gonna like blow people away.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's amazing, man.
I'm curious to see what the next 5 and 10 years of research do, because like when we were talking to Savannah over at Gatorland, she was talking about they're doing research on the communication between crocodilians, and they have their own languages with which they communicate to one another, and that's something that like, holy crap, I bet you people never thought that, because for a long time crocodilians were thought to be, you know, mindless killing machines. They were just like, people thought they were like sharks, where they're like, oh no, they've got a tiny brain and they're very stupid and they just kind of kill things. And now they're finding out they've got these like complex vocalizations, they can communicate with one another, and they can work together for catching things. And it's like, you know, that is going to be super interesting when they start to get deeper into that research.
Yeah, and you know, alligators, they have a tiny brain, and sometimes they do silly things, but there's a lot more to them than, you know, what a lot of people show.
For real.
For sure, yeah. I consistently think back to when we were at Gatorland and having Savannah just call out to one specific gator,
alligator,
and that one specific gator came over. That's still like,
yeah.
I'm like, what?
None of the other ones moved a muscle, but that one was like, "Oh, me? You're talking to me? I'll come over for some
coming.
food." Yeah,
I'm coming. Hang on. I'm coming. That blew me away. Totally.
Yeah, it's a really amazing demonstration of their intelligence.
Yeah. Yep. We need to learn so much more.
Yes. It's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Just the beginning.
Oh, man. All right, so we are getting to the point where we're going to wrap things up. But before we do, we ask everybody the same question. And that question is, what in the world of reptile, be it something within your own collection or something that you've seen scouring social media, because that's all we have time to do in COVID world now, what in the realm of reptile has you excited?
Has me excited. I think just how us keepers are evolving into creating better habitats and lives for our animals.
100%.
Totally. Yep.
I'm with it.
Yep, 100%.
That's cool. So if people want to find out more about you and the things that you're doing, where should they look you up?
My Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
It is savi.serrott, SAVI.SERROTT.
Sweet. Any other social media they should follow you on, or just there?
Nah, that's it.
All right.
That's it.
Cool.
Instagram only.
That's right. So thank you very much for talking to us tonight. We'll have to have you on again, and I hope you have a nice night.
Thank you for having me. Have a great night.
You
Okay.
too.